All right, folks, we're going to get started here in a minute. We're following the health protocols as issued by the governor, so if you've been fully vaccinated, you're good to go without a mask or social distancing. If you haven't been fully vaccinated, please do wear a mask and stay 6 feet away. If you are not a registered voter in Whitman, you must obtain the permission of the moderator to be present. You must sit in the designated visitor section up here in the balcony, unless permission is granted by me to sit on the floor. You may not vote, and you must remain silent during any voice vote. You may not speak unless the moderator has given you permission, and then you may speak only on the article which you have given permission to speak on.
I don't think the select board know that you're...
Should put this thing on, huh?
Yeah, it does work.
Okay. Before we begin the meeting, I just want to take a moment to recognize a couple of people. One of which is the retired town administrator, Frank Lynham, who served this town for many years in that capacity and others. And I want to recognize his service. If you could please just join me. And the other person I'd like to recognize is his successor. Lincoln Heineman is our new town administrator. Mr. Heineman sitting over there. You'll hear from him tonight. Now we'll call the meeting to order, and I'd like to ask the constable for a count of the voters present, please. 116, that meets the quorum. We are underway, and I ask you now to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be followed by an opening prayer and a moment of silence for deceased town employees.
There it is. There it is.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the nick of time. Thank you. And offering our opening prayer today, if you could please remain standing, is the Reverend Michelle Matot from All Saints Episcopal Church.
Friends, on this evening, I invite you to take a breath and settle into the moment. Wise and loving one, we ask that you be present this night as we gather to care for this precious community of Whitman. Surround us with wisdom to govern amid the tough issues of our times. Grant us a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, that we may serve them with mercy and justice. Strengthen our ability to work together in harmony, even when we disagree. And may all we do this night and hereafter seek the common good and benefit those who live and work in our beloved Whitman. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And please remain standing for a moment of silence for the following deceased town employees who have died during the past year. Jane Walker of the School District, Winifred Ryan of the Finance Committee, Shirley Dean from the School District, Clement Joseph Martineau from the Permanent Cable TV Committee, Maureen A. Betters of the School District, Marie L. Clasby of the School District, Cheryl A. Folsom of the School District, Frederick Krause, also of the School District, Robert Godbout, Sr., Sealer of Weights and Measures, Bud Talpe, who was Building Inspector, a member of the Whitman School Committee, the Finance Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the Zoning Bylaw Study Committee, David N. Bouldry, Whitman Fire Department, and the Historical Commission, Mary L. Fitzpatrick of the School District, Mary G. Fries, Election Official and DPW Administrative Assistant, Jesse A. Walsh of the School District, Daniel Holbrook from the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, Edward Van Coor of the Finance Committee and the Technology Study Committee, and most recently, just within the last few days, Jack Schneier, our former longtime police chief. Thank you. Will the tellers please come forward to be sworn? And will the clerk please read the warrant?
Plymouth SS, to either the Constable of the Town of Whitman. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Whitman qualified to vote in elections and the town affairs to meet in the Town Hall of said Whitman on Wednesday, the 2nd day of June 2021 at 7:30 p.m., then and there to act upon the following articles, Article P1 through P4 and Articles 1 through 40. And you are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting up attested copies thereof in not less than 8 public places in town, 7 days at least before the day of said meeting. Hereof fail not, and make due return the warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of holding said meetings, given under our hands the 17th day of May, 2021. Dr. Carl F. Kowalski, Chair. Daniel L. Salvucci, Vice Chair. Brian J. Bezanson, Clerk. Randy G. LaMattina, Jr., Member. Justin R. Evans, Member. Warrant attestation. I hereby certify that by virtue of this written warrant, I have posted 8 copies of said warrant in various sections of the town with 2 copies in each precinct. Dated May 25th, 2021, Christine May Stafford, Constable. Thank you.
All right, just want to go over a couple of rules and procedures governing town meeting. All voters must be seated in designated sections. Unless voted otherwise, all votes will be by voice vote. If I cannot tell or the vote is immediately questioned by 5 voters, a standing count shall be taken. We will not have electronic voting this time. We did not have enough time to arrange that. Budget line items in Article 2. We are voting on a consolidated budget this year. There'll be more about that later. Packages with detailed breakdowns of each department budget are available at the back of the room. We will take a few minutes recess to study the line items, and I will ask if there are any questions on budget line items in 10-line segments. If you have a question about a line item, please shout question and the number. After we go through all of Article 2, I will reread all the question line items. All line items that are not questioned will be voted on as the Finance Committee recommends in your handout. We will then have discussion and votes on each of the question line items. Massachusetts General Laws, Articles 1, 2, 3 of the Town Bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order govern the running of this town meeting. All amendments must be in writing and signed. Speaking procedures. Raise your hand. Please be obvious. After being recognized, you may stand and go to the nearest microphone, state your name and your address, and please confine your comments to the articles or question on the floor. You may not speak on the same question more than once until everyone who has not been heard has had a chance to speak. Thank you for attending. This is important business that's essential to the governing of the town. My goal is to complete all business tonight, and I ask that you remain for the duration of the meeting. In the event that we cannot finish tonight, I ask that you return tomorrow night. I also want to extend a special thank you to the Finance Committee, which is seated here in front of me. They have put in many hours working with the town administrator, department heads, and others to study each of the articles that pertain to finances and give their thoughtful and considered recommendations on each to this meeting. The committee's recommendations on each applicable article are found in the warrant. They are volunteers who perform an essential service to the town. Please join me in thanking them for their service. Are there any questions regarding procedures to this evening? All right, then we will proceed to the warrant. The following articles are requests that pertain to the current fiscal year budget. That's July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2021, and the article numbers are preceded with the letter P. These articles are expenditures or approvals that take effect immediately upon vote. Article P1, payment of prior year expenditures. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $6,699.38 from free cash to pay such accounts as may be presented against the town for which an appropriation does not exist, or take any other action relative thereto. Basic Instructor School, $495. Beth Israel Leahy Health, $600. Timeout Sportswear, $144. National Grid, $467.38. Snow Plowing Bill, $4,993. Do we have a motion? Moved and second. Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Cindy Landeville, 20 Harvard Street. I have a question. These are requests that may be presented against the town, or are they actual bills?
Mr. Heineman.
Good evening. These are, in fact, bills that were received after the accounting period was closed of last fiscal year, and the only way they may be paid is by approval by town meeting.
Other questions on Article P1? All right, seeing none, we will proceed to a vote on Article P1. Just by note, this requires a 9/10 vote for approval. So if this is not unanimous, we'll have to do a standing count. All right? So all in favor of Article P1 signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, say no. The article passes unanimously. Article P2, Fire Department Supplemental Appropriation. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $10,244 to Fire Department expense from free cash or take any other action relative thereto. Do we have a motion? Moved and seconded. Discussion, questions on Article P2? Yes, ma'am.
Tina Monies, 20 Fox Hill Run. I'm just curious what the fire department used the money on.
Mr. Heineman?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I couldn't hear it. I apologize.
Yep, the expenses. Normally when we have, overtures, they tell us what they use the money on. So I'm just curious why the fire department needs the extra $10,000.
Sure.
What the bills were.
Yes. So the fire department received a Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency grant from FEMA, from the federal government, to replace its aged 20-year-old generator at the fire station. And that FEMA grant requires a 25% match from the town, and that's what this represents.
A further discussion on Article P2? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote then. All in favor of Article P2 signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article P2 is adopted unanimously. Article P3, Hog Memorial Drive water main replacement. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from available water sewer retained earnings and transfer an additional $35,000 to annual town meeting Article 30 of the May 6 and 7, 2013 town meeting to fund the completion of the Hog Memorial Drive water main replacement project or take any other action relative thereto. Motion? Moved and seconded. Discussion of P3. Seeing none, all in favor of Article P3 signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article P3 is adopted unanimously. Article P4, postage metering contract. To see if the town will vote to authorize the town administrator to execute a contract of up to 6 years for postage metering services or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of Article P4 signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article P4 is adopted unanimously. The following articles are approvals and appropriations that are effective on July 1, 2021 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. Article 1, accept Chapter 90 road grant monies. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator to accept such sums of money as may be distributed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to the Chapter 90 Highway Grant Program, so-called, funds to be expended by the Department of Public Works in accordance with the guidelines and requirements of the Massachusetts Highway Department or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 1. Right, seeing none, all in favor of Article 1, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 1 is adopted unanimously. Okay, Article 2, to determine how much money the town will raise and appropriate for general government protection of persons and property, health and sanitation, public works, veterans benefits, education, library, recreation, and unclassified as follows in the charts on the following pages. Do we have a motion? Motion is made and seconded. Discussion. Mr. Heineman, did you want to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good evening again. Welcome everyone back to Town Hall as we continue to navigate this COVID-19 pandemic. I know we're all very happy to be open and here tonight. Briefly, I'd like to touch on two items with respect to the budget. First, what is in there, and then secondly, how it is presented, which is different than in years past. What you have before you is a balanced fiscal year 2022 budget for the fiscal year beginning on July 1st. And it has largely the same service levels, represents largely the same service levels in fiscal year 2022 as are being provided currently in the current fiscal year 2021. As many in the meeting tonight may recall, there was what is typically referred to as the Madden Report, the Madden Review and Analysis of the town's financial conditions back from a year and a half ago, November 2019. And in that report, to quote, the town would most likely have an operating override be required in fiscal year 2022. But this budget does not require that. This budget proposed in the warrant by the Board of Selectmen, recommended for passage through the Finance Committee, avoids this scenario for this year as identified by that Madden report through some targeted spending reductions that do not decrease service levels, but reduce some appropriations to the levels historically that have actually been spent in them. It also includes a very limited use of some one-time revenues to balance the budget. And this is at the same time as it does fund fixed increases in things like health insurance, employee health insurance, and pension obligations to the county pension system, which the town is required to do. And also does fund a 4.8% increase in the town's assessment to the regional school district. The other item, so that's what's in the budget. The other item I wanted to touch upon is how the budget is represented. So the budget before you compresses what has traditionally been about 440 line items into 75. And in doing so, it simplifies the budget review for town meeting, and also in a global way provides some more transparency to be extremely clear about how much each department would be appropriated, both in salaries and expenses. And you can see that in the warrant. While this is more straightforward in that respect, in a consolidated budget presentation, as the moderator mentioned, in the 74-page document available online now for many weeks and available when you enter the auditorium this evening, has the detailed line item structure is an informational thing for how the town would intend to spend these monies now, today, in fiscal year 2022. And so this, as I said, this document has is a snapshot of how the town would intend to spend those monies. To give a brief example of how the budget consolidation works, use the fire department budget. Traditionally, in the past, this has contained 14 line items spread across six pages in this 74-page document of background information. This is now consolidated into the 2 lines in the case of the fire department for salaries and expenses. And what this type of change allows is for the department heads, the managers of their own budgets in each department, to have the flexibility during the fiscal year to respond to conditions on the ground. And I think that's probably become clearer than ever during the COVID-19 pandemic, both in municipal government, in business and private business, in any field, to have that flexibility to respond during the fiscal year to management challenges. I'd like to use a specific example to show how this management flexibility could improve the functioning of the town. And a specific example of something that happened in the past 6 months. Our treasurer collector, Mary Beth Carter, had identified that there would be operational efficiencies and savings by outsourcing certain payroll functions, from having it be an employee to having an outside entity do it. In the way that the budget, and this was, again, both efficiency savings and also cost savings. In the way that the budget has traditionally been approved by town meeting, she was not able to reassign employees and reassign duties between employees because the budget appropriates funds for each individual job, and specifically by job title. So as a result, rather than being able to make this operational change quickly in her role as a manager, she needed to go through a several-month process, work with the Finance Committee on a reserve fund transfer for emergency or unforeseen items, and it, in this respect, delayed this efficiency. So that is the reason why it's before you, to give the department heads, the managers in the town, some management flexibility, particularly in this time. Certainly this year and every year, town meeting would certainly continue to have the line item detail, which specifies how the town would intend to use the funds at the beginning of the fiscal year. So again, happy to take any questions about it. I would say I'm happy to report, and the Finance Committee can report further on that if they choose, obviously, but this is a change that is supported by both the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. Again, happy to take any questions or concerns about it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Heineman. Why don't we'll take a few minutes then to allow people to read through this before we begin going through it. Last article. Okay, so what I would like to do then is I'll go through these consolidated budget lines in 10-line increments. And if you have a question, would like to hold it, please shout out question and the number of the line item that you would like to question, and we will hold that. And when we're done with that, we will set aside all of the question line items, and then we will vote all of the unquestioned line items in one vote according to the Finance Committee's recommendation. We're voting on the Finance Committee number. So that's how that will work. So if you want to hold something for later consideration, when we will go back and we will discuss and vote each of the question line items individually after that. Please remember to shout question and the number of the line item. All right, line items 1 through 10.
Question 2.
Question 2. Question 7. Question 8. 9. All right, lines 11 through 20.
14.
Question 14. Lines 21 through 30. 21. 23. And questions for lines 31 through 35. Okay, then the lines that we are questioning and setting aside for now are 2, 7, 8, 9, 14, 21, and 23. Are there any other line items to be questioned? 33. I'm sorry? 20? Okay, then we have numbers 2, 7, 8, 9, 14, 20, 21, 23, and 33. Okay, then we will move then to a vote on all of the non-question line items. Again, we're voting the Finance Committee number. All right. All in favor of passing all the Finance Committee recommendations for all of the unquestioned line items, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. All right, let's start with line item number 2. Who had a question on that? Yes, sir.
Marshall Latina, 100 Lazel Street. I'm just looking for an explanation for an 11% increase in the salary of, I assume this is 2 positions?
Mr. Heineman?
Hello again. So the increase there is in my own salary, in the at the level that the contract, my contract with the town specifies. It also allows for a possible $10,500 increase in the $10,400 increase actually in the possible salary for the assistant town administrator position. The assistant town administrator, the former assistant town administrator, when she left was making $90,400. The market is such that for the position that I believe the town wants, for the duties that the town would want, specifically human resources, procurement, grant writing, which is a big one. The market indicates, especially when one compares us with similar communities, similar municipalities, would indicate that in order to get the best qualified candidate for that position, that we would want to advertise it at a range with an absolute maximum of $105,000. To be very clear, no one, I think, would be happier than I would if we could get the absolute great best candidate for a lesser amount. But this proposal is based on a recognition that the market has changed and that in order to attract the best candidates to choose from would indicate that possible upper level of salary.
Other questions on number 2? Yes, sir.
Neil Gorman, Court Street. Welcome. I understand you do definitely need some help in your new office. The problem with the assistant town administrator position is we keep losing people. And in response, we keep raising the price. A few years ago, we raised the salary by, I think, 30%. It's probably gone up about 40% in the past 5 years. And every time we hire someone, they keep leaving, and we keep raising it and raising it and raising it. That doesn't seem to be enough of an incentive. We should just leave it the same and find someone willing to actually do the job. I'm wondering why we need to keep raising this price. Soon they're going to be making more than the town administrator themselves. Thank you.
Other questions on number 2? Has anybody who's not spoken wish to make a question? I'm sorry? Okay, we're not yet. So, yes, Ms. Farley.
Do you mind if I use your mic?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. I just have a couple questions. This doesn't sit with me right for a couple of reasons. I've been around for 20 years, and I've seen over and over again that the town meeting does not want to see buyouts. You know, people retire, you get 60,000, you get 100,000, you get 80,000. I'd like to say that, you know, people can say what they want, but Mr. Lynham walked out of here with nothing. And that's the way it should be. That's what he stood up for in front of all you guys. He said he wasn't going to take anything, and he stood by his word. That being said, what you don't see in this little $311,000 is actually a buyback, a buyout that happens every year. The Board of Selectmen have made an agreement with Lincoln Heineman, the town administrator, to buy back 2 weeks of vacation time every year. So instead of a buyout, once he retires in 10 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it may be, he won't get a buyout then, but he's getting a buyout every year. 2 weeks of paid back vacation time that he doesn't use. Does anybody here get that in their job? First off. Second off, how do you know that something's not going to happen, something's not going to come up that he's not going to use those 2 weeks? Every contract that we've signed with the town accountant, with the assessor, I'm trying to think, the police department, matter of fact, you get your chiefs, your police department. They don't get any buybacks. They get 9 days carryover, and they had to fight for that. Hook, line, and sinker. You have somebody who walks in here after 6 months and gets a buyback, and this is something that this town, and this is my personal feeling about this. So that's, you can see that in the breakdown. You can't see it so much in the whole number. The other problem is we're giving a 16% raise to somebody who doesn't even belong here or who's not here. There's not a body here. Everybody in this town hall is getting a 2% raise, except for a few, but that's all right. That's not neither here nor there. There's only one other person that's not, but everybody's getting a 2% raise. And a person we have not hired yet is getting a 16% raise. I don't know about you guys, but that does not make sense to me. Give that position a 2% raise like everybody else, and I'd like to make a motion to amend that Article 2 to read $293,046, and that's going to reflect the decrease of the $5,493 of the buyback of vacation time for the town administrator, and it's going to decrease the assistant town administrator position to a 2% increase, which is what we've all got. Every department in this town hall has gotten a 2% increase. That's all we were told they could afford, but yet somehow they come up with 16% for a position that doesn't exist. Thank you very much. I'd like a second to that. Now that's transparency.
Can I have the amendment, please? The amendment?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend line item 2 to read $293,046. We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the amendment. Mr. Lynham.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Frank Lynham, 907 Bedford Street. I would just like to remind town meeting, I was the one who ran the revolving door. I was the one who hired people and couldn't keep them because we weren't paying adequately for the demands of the job. And sadly, but true, in corporate America and in private offices everywhere, each job has a value. You can be the nicest person in the world, but the job has a value. And I think people, by and large, are well compensated for the work they do here. And I think that it's disingenuous to say we're giving a raise to someone who isn't here. We are recognizing that we are having a very difficult time hiring key people who do significant work and significant value for the town, but we don't want to pay them. What you're going to get is a trainee, and I think the Finance Committee talked about that a couple of weeks ago, who works here for a year or two and moves on. So you have that revolving door. Let's recognize that these folks have thought about the budget, they've recognized the need, and move forward with the article as originally presented.
Mr. Lamattina.
Randy Lamattina, 6 Riverbird Circle, Selectman. Just to clarify some misstatements, unfortunately, by our clerk. Yes, Lincoln Heineman does have a buyback in his contract if, in fact, he does not use his vacation time. Meaning, basically, he has worked and he will be compensated per state law. Our attorney's here this evening, and that is what we must do. So there is no hidden buybacks. I actually resent that. I think it's a jab at somebody who did not need to have that take place this evening. Completely disrespectful in my mind. Secondly, I think anyone who's paid attention to the selectmen's meetings, there has been quite a bit of discussion regarding our assistant town administrator, the next assistant town administrator, what we will be looking for, what qualifications. We have set a maximum, a ceiling of what the town would pay for that person, depending on qualifications. We don't know what those qualifications are going to be yet, but we want to be able to make sure we get the best person we can, somebody that is going to provide longevity to the town, that this will not be a revolving door. I think we've seen that benefits us going through this process, and I think I agree with Mr. Lynham's motion to leave this line where it should be.
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Rick Anderson, 237 Stetson Street, Finance Committee Chair. I too would just like to weigh in, just to let town meeting know that this Finance Committee has reviewed the entire detailed budget and had extensive discussions regarding this particular line. I think that both of the previous speakers are point on. I think that the town deserves to have the highest caliber people in the highest positions for the betterment of the town. Like I said, this isn't something we take lightly. Obviously, these salaries are something that evoked a lot of discussion within the Finance Committee over the last 9 months. So, but at the end of the day, we really have to have some confidence in our new town administrator to look for the most qualified person to fill the assistant town administrator position. I ask you to vote no on the amendment and follow the recommendations that are outlined from the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment to line 2. Yes, ma'am.
Cindy Landeville, 20 Harvard Street. How long has this town actually had an administrative assistant?
Mr. Heineman. Mr. Lynham, go ahead.
Yes. Since 2007. And also, I still fail to understand why we are spending money when we don't even have a candidate, we don't even have a position. I know you're looking to the future, but we're also looking at our tax bills down the line. All of this, all adds up, folks.
Further questions or discussion of the amendment to line item 2? Yes. Yes, sir.
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel Street. Just in like a cursory glance, it seems that 105,000 is almost in line with a full town administrator's salary with towns in the area. Can you, I know you said that would be in line with assistants in the area. Do you have any numbers to back that up right now? I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that. I know you might not have that, but that seems excessive to me.
Mr. Heineman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, so I'd like to give folks a little bit more color on the conversation regarding the market and what the market looks like for an assistant town administrator. So some of our surrounding communities of like size, Abington, the assistant town manager has a salary of $98,000. Bridgewater, assistant town manager is $116,000. Easton, $102,000. Hanover, assistant town manager of $120,000. That's for a smaller municipality than Whitman. Hanson, again, quite a bit smaller municipality, $100,000 for an assistant to the town administrator. Hingham, assistant town administrator is $114,000. Kingston has an assistant town administrator at $98,000. And Rockland has an assistant town administrator at $100,000. So certainly, this is the market as far as what we're looking at and what we hope to achieve in this position. Again, with grant writing, with human resources, possibly through a great suggestion from Mr. Noon on the Finance Committee, possibly having an IT component to it to help out our IT director. So there's a little bit of color on where the market is. And just one other note, I just want to reiterate in the strongest terms, no one would be happier if we could find the right person for less than this. We just want to be able to have the flexibility to go out and advertise and attempt to attract the best candidate that we possibly can.
Other comments or questions on the amendment to line item 2?
Shauna
Yes, ma'am.
Otina, 100 Lazel Street. I see all the numbers and all the facts and everything, but I think what we're missing is the administrators who are in that position in the surrounding towns. Are they suffering from the same revolving door that this town is, trying to get an entry-level person to come in and take that? Or have those administrators who are making that $100,000, have they been in the town for years?
Mr. Heineman?
Well, obviously every situation is different, but to give an example of a very like-size municipality, actually a little smaller, somewhat similar demographics in some ways, Kingston, they're actually going out and there is not an assistant town administrator in that position now, but they are going out and advertising it and looking at probably $98,000. But certainly, it would depend on the community and the duration and, frankly, what exactly that job entails in each community. In each community, there's some differences.
Other comments, questions on line item 2? Yes, sir.
Paul Monkern, 3 Viking Drive. Mr. Heineman, I think it might be helpful if you give people what the range might be, because I think a lot of folks are focused on the worst case scenario, which is 105. So maybe if you provided that, it might allow for a little bit more dialogue.
Mr. Heineman.
Certainly that would be a discussion with the Board of Selectmen, but what would be in my mind would probably be a range of probably about 92,000 to an absolute maximum of 105,000.
Other comments, questions on number 2 and the amendment to number 2? Mr. Kane.
Sean Kane, 31 Forest Street. I think at first when I saw this, I was definitely, I felt the negative feeling. Like, we've got a lot of employees that have gone through a lot of difficult budgets, so to have someone new come in and suggest such a big increase, it did hit me the wrong way. But I think looking at the last 6 months or the period of time that Lincoln's been here, and the investment in good practices or quality practices and financial practices, and even just like with grant writing, if you bring in somebody who is quality grant writer, the amount of money that we're going to get back for what we're spending, I think, is a no-brainer. So I feel like the comments from the Board of Selectmen over the last couple weeks have really changed my mind about this.
Other questions on the amendment on number 2? Ms. Farley.
All right, I just have a real quick question for Randy. You said that the 2 weeks buyback is per our Mass General Law for Mr. Heineman's vacation time? So, but you're in the contract, it says, I have the contract up here. Excuse me? I do, I have it right up here. And it just says that he gets to buy back 2 weeks of vacation time. It doesn't say per Mass General Law, or I just want to do research. I want to look that Mass General Law up. I know that this town has voted year after year to not give people big buyouts, and this is what this is. It's a buyout every year, like I said. Hang on, he's looking. And I do have one more question. Not one more question. If you want, it is what it is, and I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just want people to see what I see. It's $92,261 at a 2% increase for an assistant town administrator getting the 2%. And why not start there? How do you know? Have you advertised? Have you gone out? Have you looked for anybody at $92,000? You don't know, there are people out there looking for jobs. You never know. And as far as comparing other towns, if you want to compare other towns to what different people make, what the town clerk makes in Hanson, what the Council on Aging director makes in a different town, you'd find out that you'd be having to play catch up to a lot of different positions in this town.
Mr. Sumner?
Hi, thank you. Peter Sumners. I'm from Michelle McNulty's office. She's town council. I'm here on her behalf. I've been asked to speak on the question about the vacation buyback in terms of which law applies. Vacation is a wage under Massachusetts law, and if an employee is unable to use vacation that they've been offered, they are entitled to have it paid out. And regardless of whether they're entitled to use it, the buyback is provided for under the contract. And so it's guaranteed as long as the contract's in effect. Thank you.
Other comments, questions on number 2? All right, then we'll vote on, sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry, Tina Moniz, 20 Fox Hill Run. Just going back to the town administrator, the assistant town administrator line, if we do the 92,000, that's the max. Like, it sounds like everyone around us is definitely over that 92 max, so it seems silly to start our max at the lowest in the region, so just speaking on that point.
All right, other questions on number 2? Yes, sir.
Bob Kimball, 877 Auburnville Way. How many weeks vacation does our new town administrator get?
Randy?
How many weeks vacation is in the contract for the new town administrator?
Mr. Heineman.
It is 5.
Thank you. A lot of people in management positions, when they go on vacation, actually work in private sectors. And I would like to see if you got 5 weeks vacation in your contract, you should take it because that's what the town thought you should take. Thank you.
Other comments, questions on number 2? Okay, then we will move to a vote on whether to amend line item 2 to read $293,046. All in favor of amending line 2 to that amount, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no? No. The motion is defeated. We will now move to a vote on the original number associated with line item 2, which is $311,278. All in favor of that amount, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? Line item 2 is adopted according to the Finance Committee recommendation. Line item 7. Who had a question on 7?
Dennis Chick, 36 Lance Avenue, Whitman resident since 1944, just in case you don't recognize me. My question was, most of the salaries I noticed are in the 2%, 3%, 4% raise. Some of them are even minus. But my question on number 7 and on number 9 was the exact same thing. How come one of them went up 7% and the other one went up nearly 12%? Maybe there's a reasonable explanation, but I'd just like to hear it.
Mr. Heineman?
So, since you brought up both line items, I'll address both line items, if that's okay with you, Mr. Moderator. So, the treasurer collector's salary, that does represent 3 things going on there. Number 1, a 2% cost of living increase. Number 2, similarly to the town clerk, a combination of a couple different sources of pay that the treasurer collector has and the town clerk have received, and putting it all into one line for transparency's sake, frankly, to make it very clear what the town treasurer collector and what the town clerk's salary are. And then further, there is a proposed adjustment to the treasurer collector's salary based on a Collins Center report. The Collins Center is a entity that does research on municipal matters that's associated with the University of Massachusetts, Boston. In 2018, there was a study to look at various classes of employees and determine what their pay should be based on various factors: education, experience, longevity, etc. The treasurer collector's salary is amongst the class, as identified by the Collins Center, is one of the lowest jobs in that category. And the intention here is to bring the treasurer collector up, recognizing her long years of experience and knowledge, and bring her to some equity with 2 other major positions in that grade, which are the 2 DPW superintendents, the water sewer superintendent and the highway superintendent. Regarding the town clerk's salary, in fact, contrary to what the town clerk said earlier, there is represented there a 7% pay increase. Again, so there are 3 factors that are going into that pay. Number 1, a 2% cost of living increase, as she identified. A 5% increase based on what has been accepted by the town in the past, what's sometimes known as the Lexington Plan, providing a percent increase in the final 3 years of employment. The town clerk has identified that these are her 3 final years, or its intention of her 3 final years. And then in addition, the third factor that I mentioned earlier with the treasurer collector, the town clerk had been paid from several different line items, including the registrars, a stipend for being the burial agent at the Board of Health, et cetera. And so those 3 factors together represent what appears to be an 11.9% increase, but is in fact a 7%, not a 2% increase. Thank you.
Other questions on number 7? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on the Finance Committee's recommendation on line item 7. All in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Line item 7 is adopted. Line item 8. Question on 8. Yes, ma'am.
Can someone explain the almost $40,000, 20% increase?
Mr. Heineman?
So two factors there. One is not actually an increase. It's a function of the budget consolidation. So the budget, as it has traditionally been passed, has had typically a $30,000 appropriation for Verizon. This is putting it into the technology budget as it should be, and will allow our technology director to realize savings in managing those costs. The additional $10,000 is a reflection of the payroll change, the system of the payroll change that we discussed earlier, that efficiency, and bringing that in to, since it's a new piece of software that we purchased, bring that in appropriately to the technology department.
Further discussion on number 8? All right, all in favor of adopting the Finance Committee's recommendation on line item 8, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Line item 8 is adopted. Line item 9. Any further questions on 9? All right, seeing none then, all in favor of the Finance Committee's recommendation on number 9, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Line item 9 is adopted. Line item 14, question on 14. Did anyone have a question on 14? Yes, Ms. Landeville.
Can someone please explain to me facilities?
Mr. Heineman?
This represents the equivalent, essentially, of 2 full-time employees. One full-time employee custodian who does great work at all of the buildings in town. One part-time employee who does a lot of the heavier duty maintenance, painting, not just the custodial work, but the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance of the facilities. And then one is a nominal stipend for the facilities manager, who is part-time in that role.
Other questions on 14? Does anyone else have a question? No? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So that includes maintenance, let's see, what else did we have? Custodial, and there were 3 items listed all together for the town hall.
Mr. Heineman.
That is correct. Again, under the consolidated budget, this includes all facilities line items that had been separate before.
Other questions on 14? All right, all in favor of the Finance Committee's recommendation on line item 14, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Line item 14 is adopted. Line item 20. Question on 20. Yes, ma'am.
Beth Stafford, 21 Harvard Street. I just, on the Norfolk County, is that based on actuals at this point in time, my question? Because I know that fluctuates every year.
Mr. Heineman.
Best guesstimate.
Thank you for the question. That's based on a significant increase in projected enrollment, based on the projection of students that Norfolk Aggie projects will be entering in the 9th grade. We'll know if it's an actual as the school year begins.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions on number 20? All right, then, all in favor of line item 20, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Line item 20 is adopted. Line item 21. Mr. Small.
Fred Small, 87 Hilltop Road, also a member of the school committee. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move to amend reference number 21, the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, non-mandated busing. The motion is to replace the Finance Committee recommended amount of $401,177 to read the Selectmen's proposed amount of $411,746.
Do we have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second. Okay, then we have a motion then to amend the non-mandated busing line in line 21 to read $411,746. Mr. Small.
Basically, what this is a $10,000 difference. The amount that we've requested, and the school committee's requested amount, is the selectmen's proposed amount. That's what it costs us for non-mandated busing. For some reason, the Finance Committee voted to not recommend the entire amount. They want to cut us back by a little over $10,000. It's just not feasible. It costs X amount of dollars to do the job. That's what we need to do the job. The only explanation I heard was that it wasn't sustainable. That was the chair's answer at a selectmen's meeting. I mean, $10,000, it's accounted, it's a balanced budget. How is it not sustainable? It's a 2.6 or 2.7% increase. It's quite reasonable. And that's what it costs us to provide the non-mandated busing of under 1.5 miles, so students don't have to be walking in inclement weather. They have a way to get to school. We can control where they're going or where their bus routes are. I don't know if people realize this, but as of February 2021, there were 2 level 3 sex offenders and 10 level 2 sex offenders in our town. These things are taken into consideration when we do our bus routes. This money's needed. It's not like someone's going out and having a party with it. This is what it costs. Please support this.
Discussion of the amendment to line 21. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Finance Committee voted 701 to recommend that for this town meeting, that this budget line be level funded. The principal reason for the recommendation is an economic one. With respect to the moderator, the Finance Committee would like to provide town meeting with a brief explanation of its position with respect to this budget line. It's important to note that this line is not connected to the assessment for the operating budget of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District because it addresses a very specific function. To be clear, the Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend the full assessment as voted by the school committee. We would like to demonstrate there are 3 reasons for town meeting not to support the amendment that has been presented. 1, a meeting was called by the district this past February. It was in response to our continued concerns regarding non-mandated busing costs. We appreciated the opportunity this meeting provided in opening a dialogue about ways the community could address the soaring costs for this transportation. In that meeting, Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Superintendent Jeff Simonak made a very clear commitment to evaluate the program's ridership and routes and effect some cost savings. Despite numerous attempts by our liaison to the district, we have been provided no updates as to the progress of this stated commitment. 2, from the very first budget mailing that went out this last fall, we have continued to ask each town department to submit a budget that level funds expense lines. Clearly, the school district did not make the same level of commitment in this regard as most of the other departments made. We still have a structural deficit this year, as is evidenced in the fact that we continue to use one-time funding sources to close the gap in our budget. And 3, this happens to be a year that the district is negotiating a new contract with a transportation company. It is critical that we make some collective progress by educating our community about the costs that are part of the decision we made long ago to provide the benefits of non-mandated busing. The Finance Committee remains as committed to the safety of our students as much as the Board of Selectmen, as much as the school committee. And in conclusion, I'd just like to share the response from Superintendent Simonak during a telephone conversation about this line item. I called the day after our Finance Committee meeting as a courtesy to inform him of the recommendation to level fund this line, and was quite surprised when he said that he was, quote, tired of talking about non-mandated busing, end quote. With all due respect to Superintendent Simonak, the Finance Committee is tired of talking about non-mandated busing as well. But it's a conversation that needs to continue until a collaborative solution can be found to balance the safety of our students with the community's economic reality. I urge you to vote no on this amendment and obligate the district to follow up on its stated commitment to help make this line sustainable for the future. Thank you.
Further discussion of non-mandated busing? Yes, sir.
Neil Gorman, Court Street. I am just a little confused. We're trying to keep everybody's budget even. We don't want to raise money because we don't want funding to go up too much. But we're giving 2%, 11%, 9%, 16% raises to all these people because we don't have the money. But I would just ask one question. Could the Finance Committee reassess its priorities if it can give raises to all sorts of people, but you can't spend some money to send kids to school? Thank you.
Other comments on the non-mandated busing line? Mr. Small?
I was at that meeting, Mr. Anderson. I believe you were too. And the district was very clear. This summer, when we send out our surveys, the district intends to be as cautious as they can in trying to get an accurate count so that only the students that are using the non-mandated busing will have a seat. But if a parent answers that they want a seat for their child, then they're going to have a seat for their child. The district doesn't make any money doing this. The district doesn't gain any benefit in doing this. The district overtaxes our transportation department in doing this. We use software that's purchased for our regular regional transportation. The town benefits from that. We don't assess you a different charge. This is what it costs us, okay? It's a policy decision. I know myself, I will always vote for non-mandated busing because I want our kids to be safe. Our selectmen are the ones that set policy. They have set the policy that they want to see non-mandated busing. We just simply send the bill. If this line item isn't funded, I don't know. What are we supposed to do? Pick out 20 kids? Hey, you can't ride the bus. Sorry. We can't afford it. We don't have enough money. We gave a bill as to what we need, not what we want. And I'm sorry, but escalations occur every year. Contracts go up. Okay, bus contracts, you put a contract out to bid, you get one bidder. One person after the request for proposal. And it's not indicative of us. It's all over the state. It's a problem that the state has, and they recognize that. It's not right, but there's no competition. So we work the best contract that we can, but contracts go up. There are fuel escalators in those contracts. Fuel's going up. Our costs go up. And that's the reason for the extra $10,000. Do we really want to tell kids, walk in the snow, walk in the rain, and maybe walk by that creepy guy's house?
Other discussion on the amendment to number 21. Yes, Ms. Otina.
Okay, Kathleen Otina, 344 Washington Street, Finance Committee liaison to the school department. The Finance Committee does not dispute that the policy set by the selectmen is absolutely in their purview. What the Finance Committee has discussed repeatedly this year is that there is no financial incentive for the school department to look for savings in this non-mandated busing line item. It's $400,000. And based on the information that was provided at that meeting in February, which I also attended, and I broke it down by students who are mandated, so that their busing costs are reimbursed by the state. The percentage changes each year. We get no reimbursement for the non-mandated students, and that's in the town of Whitman. We're such a small town. Most of our students live within the 1.5 miles of the elementary schools. And there's no indication of how many of those children who are slated for a bus seat actually ride the bus. And we've asked for that information, and acknowledging that this is not the year with the COVID situation to do a census of who is and is not on the bus. We are asking the school department to please work within the constraints of the current line item, the $401,000 level funding, and experience some savings. There is no incentive, and by voting unanimously to hold this as a level-funded line item, the Finance Committee is asking the school department to work very hard to experience savings. The cost of sending these children on a bus is $313,000 for the elementary school, and if there's an indication that all of those children take a seat on the bus, then that can be shown to us after the summer's census, which is interesting news, and I appreciate that information, Mr. Small. But if those are empty seats that are for students who in theory could ride the bus but in fact do not, we are paying an awful lot of money for empty seats. Thank you.
Ms. Connolly?
Rosemary Conley, 405 Franklin. I just had a quick question. I'm the one person that did not vote yes for this. And the reason that I did not vote yes was that it didn't have enough information. I would like to hear from the schools on what measures they did take to reduce the costs. Some of the things that were mentioned in that meeting, I believe, were looking at different bus routes, having more children in the seats. If somebody could speak to that, please.
Mr. Small?
And perhaps this, I thought it was discussed at the end, but maybe we had said it in the very beginning. I know you were a few minutes late, so maybe we said it before when you got there. But it was pretty clear. When we send out the census this summer, we did say we will make a renewed effort to get the best possible information from parents so that only the children that need a seat on the bus will have a seat and would be charged. We made that commitment, but that is this summer. That's not today. And what we're going by is the facts of what we have today. If nothing changes, this is what we need. We send out a survey every year. We ask parents. Maybe we'll be a little bit, more of a thorn in the side and ask harder. And maybe we'll send out an additional survey. But as many parents that I've spoken to, well, it doesn't cost me anything. If I need it, I don't know, I might need it in December or January. Yeah, I normally drive my kid. That's why you see the buses go by empty. But I want to know that it's there if I need it. And that's, heck, if I was a parent, I might do the same thing. You know, to know that my child had a good, safe way to get to school if I was unable to provide it. And yes, we made the commitment this summer to do whatever we could, okay, to show due diligence and to be a good partner. We want more money. If we can save you money, we can ask for more.
We have a motion to move the question, which would cut off debate. I'm sorry?
Second.
Okay, well, we have a motion to move the question, so we have to entertain that motion. A motion to cut off debate then and move to a vote on the amendment. All in favor of doing that, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? All right, then we will move to a vote then on the amendment, which is to change the recommendation for the non-mandated busing line in line item 21 to $411,746. All in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? No. I think we'll have to do a standing count on this one. If all those in favor of the amendment would please rise and allow the tellers to count. If you could just report those numbers to the clerk, please. All right, you can be seated, and all those who oppose the amendment, please rise. And if the tellers would please count those numbers as well. So the amendment is adopted. 66 in favor, 27 against. All right, so now a vote on the amended line item 21, which for mandated busing now reads $411,746. All in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? No. The motion is adopted. Article 23. We have a question on 23, line item 23. Mr. Galvin?
John Galvin, 41 High Street, member of the Whitman Finance Committee. I just have a question on the expense line for the water and sewer enterprise. Later in this meeting, we're going to be voting on a sewer project. Are there any expenses, or are all of the expenses of the sewer project, if that passes, included in this expense line? And are there actually any forecasted expenses for that project needed in fiscal year 22 this year?
Mr. Heineman.
The entirety of the project envisioned for the sewer force main is in that article. There are no projected expenses for that project in the operating budget, Article 2.
Other questions on 23? All right, then, all in favor? Would you like to speak? Okay, go ahead, John.
One of the adjustments that was made this year when we went to the consolidated budget is we no longer see the revenue of the enterprise budget like we have in all the years past. I just want to make everybody aware as we're moving forward in this meeting that the revenues have gone up significantly, or the revenue projections have gone up significantly in the enterprise budget, which is for the water and sewer department. As of October 21, I believe, there's a increase going to the sewer user charges, significantly increasing the revenue that the enterprise fund will get. Yet, as we heard, there's no additional expenses this year. I think everybody needs to understand that, this is a huge project that needs to happen, but I think as a town, we need to get a better understanding of how we're going to pay for it. And I'm concerned that a significant rate increase is going through to the town when there isn't, for this fiscal year, when there isn't any expenditures based on that project. It's a significant increase of over $500,000 in the user fees that us taxpayers are going to have to pay this year. There were some other reductions in revenue forecasts. So altogether, it's about a $468,000 additional revenues that are needed for the expenses. And I just don't understand why we're doing that. And I guess we'll probably talk more about it in Article 5. Thank you.
Other questions on 23? All right, then all in favor of the Finance Committee recommendation on Article 23, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Line item 23 is adopted. Line item 33, question on 33.
Can someone please
Yes, ma'am.
explain what a debt service is?
Mary Beth Carter, 896 Auburn Street, Treasurer Collector. The debt service of $810,362 represents the debt payment for the police station, town hall, and fire department. It represents a Title V debt, and it also this year includes the lease payments for cruiser, pump engine, and ambulance that were leased, a few years ago. So these are payments that were rolled into this general fund debt service amount. That's why you see an increase there of 19.8%. It includes the lease payments this year.
Other questions on 33? Yes, sir.
Hi, Neil Gorman, Court Street. I understand that we're having a lot of one-time budget windfalls that have helped us make our budget. We have a $3 million shortfall a few years ago, and we scrambled. We had to cut everything, and then all of a sudden, this year we're getting extra funding. We're not paying as much to the schools. From what I understand from certain federal stimulus bills, Whitman has been earmarked for $5 million in one bill and $1.5 million in another bill, which I hope we're actually getting. But when we have these little windfalls, why aren't we paying our debt down as much as possible? Thank you.
Ms. Carter?
Well, we do schedule out the debt payments just for the amount on the debt schedule each year. There is not a windfall amount that can be applied just to debt payments, just to anything we want for extra money coming in. So we do just follow the debt schedule each time. It's not normally accelerated. If we have the opportunity to refund any particular debt, we do take advantage of that after so many years and refinance the debt just like you would remortgage a home on schedule.
Other questions on 33? All right, then all in favor of adopting the Finance Committee's recommendation on line 33, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. All right, line 33 is adopted. Okay, Article 3, revolving fund limits. To see if the town will vote to authorize spending limits for fiscal year 2022 for the following revolving accounts approved under the town's bylaws or take any other action relative thereto. Animal control, $5,000. Council on Aging, $10,000. Library fines and fees, $20,000. Passport and photo fees, $3,000. Planning board, $75,000. Police department, $20,000. Recreation department, $40,000. Street lighting receipts, $15,000. Do we have a motion? Motion and a second. Discussion of Article 3. Seeing none, all in favor of adopting Article 3 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 3 is adopted. Article 4, appropriate excess levy to stabilization fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the difference between the levy net and the levy limit to the stabilization fund in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 4. All right, we need a 2/3 majority to pass Article 4, so all those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 4 is adopted unanimously. Article 5, and this motion reads a little bit differently than what's printed in your warrant. We move that the town appropriate $14,471,950 to pay the cost of a sewer main replacement from the Auburn Street pump station to a gravity sewer terminus manhole located in the city of Brockton, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, $1,500,000 shall be transferred from the water sewer retained earnings, and the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow $12,971,950 under and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 814, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town thereof, and the time therefore, that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to enter into any and all agreements with the other municipalities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that are necessary and convenient to complete the project approved by this vote, and that the town is authorized to apply for and accept any federal or state assistance that may be available for this project. All or any portion of the amount authorized to be borrowed for this project may be obtained through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. While all bonds and notes issued under the authority of this vote will be general obligations to the town, general obligations of the town, payable from all sources of revenue, it is the town's intent to pay debt service in the first instance from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund. Do I have a motion? A motion and a second. Discussion of Article 5. All right, seeing none, all in favor, and this again requires a 2/3 vote. I'm sorry, Ms. Atina.
Kathleen Otina, 344 Washington Street. I'm confused why this isn't in writing. We've spent a lot of time on the Finance Committee looking at all of the warrant articles over the past year. We've met pretty much every Monday or Tuesday night, and this is significant changing in the wording and the funding. Is there an opportunity for us to see the wording?
Mr. Heineman.
Since this article would require the issuance of debt, we have very specific guidance from bond counsel regarding what would need to be read at town meeting if it was to be approved. The language in the article is that language as recommended by the town's attorney, bond counsel, who gives us the town guidance on debt issuance. In this case, they recommended a motion, and again, we would want, from my perspective, to follow our legal guidance regarding the issuance of bonds. So this is the language directly from them to that extent. I'm not sure I have an answer for that. This is the language as recommended by bond counsel. I'm not sure of the date we received it from bond counsel, but it was very recently. It was very recently. I don't have the day in front of me, but it was very recent.
Other questions on Article 5? Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, just given the confusion between what was read and what we're seeing, is there a way the town council could just explain the difference between what we see and what you just read?
Mr. Sumners?
Mr. Moderator. Hi, Peter Sumners from Murphy, Lamry, and Murphy. As Lincoln had indicated, this language was recommended by bond counsel to effectuate the borrowing. My understanding of the language is that the underlying borrowing amount remains the same as what's in the article, and the motion contains more detailed language than what's in the article.
Other questions on Article 5? Yes, sir.
Kevin Clary, 35 Indian Trail, Chairman and DPW Commissioner. Just a clarification, the biggest change was we're taking $1.5 million out of that sewer water enterprise account and making a large payment, not a sort of payment, but reducing the amount of debt that we're going to have to borrow for this project. So that was one of the main reasons for the change, that we voted as the commissioners to take that one-time lump sum monies out of the water sewer enterprise account.
Further discussion of Article 5? All right, sir.
So it just seems there might be a point of order that do we need to vote on this amendment? Because there's a big difference between what you read and what's in the book. Should there be, I mean, you know, you have it in writing, you have a written motion. Should we be voting on a motion first before we accept the article?
The article does replace what's in the warrant, what was in the printed warrant, as town council has explained it to me. So we would be voting on this. Is not an amendment. This is the motion. Mr. Lynham?
Just for the sake of clarity, when we vote to borrow money and issue bonds, the language that you read is very specific to enable the town to do that borrowing. It doesn't change the purpose or the authorization, except that the DPW has decided to put $1.5 million up front to reduce the amount borrowed. The language is what's required by law in order to authorize borrowing.
Other questions on Article 5? All right, then seeing none, all in favor of adopting Article 5 as read, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 5 is adopted unanimously. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from free cash $60,000 to purchase and equip one police vehicle or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion? A second? A second. Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Is this a replacement vehicle or an additional vehicle?
Chief Hanlon?
Tim Hanlon, 55 Indian Trail, and your police chief. Annually, we replace a vehicle. And in this particular instance, it's replacing a 2011 Ford Explorer that's seen better days. So we don't want to continue to put money into repairing a vehicle when we can save money by getting a new one. So in addition to that, if we purchase it outright, I believe our lease payment will be up this year. So you won't see any of those on the floor at all. So, but we normally get a vehicle every year, and it's a replacement vehicle every year. We don't get new vehicles beyond this point.
Other questions on Article 6? All in favor of Article 6, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 6 is adopted unanimously. Article 7, water pickup and meter radio reading equipment, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $29,000 from water sewer retained earnings to purchase and equip a medium-sized pickup truck and purchase and install water meter radio reading equipment in said truck, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 7. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 7 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 7 is adopted unanimously. Article 8, Town Park Playground Repair, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $29,528 from free cash to replace broken and worn parts of the Town Park Playground, or take any other action relative thereto. A motion and a second. Discussion of Article 8. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 8 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 8 is adopted unanimously. Article 9, four-wheel drive, one-ton truck. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $12,500 from the High Street Cemetery Receipts Reserved Account, $12,500 from the Mount Zion Cemetery Receipts Reserved Account, and $39,000 from free cash to purchase and equip with plow a four-wheel drive, one-ton truck, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 9 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 9 is adopted unanimously. Article 10, large dump truck. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $156,286 from free cash to purchase and equip a 39,000-pound GVW dump truck with snow plow, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Article 10. Discussion of Article 10. Yes, ma'am.
Is this a replacement or an addition?
Sir.
Bruce Martin, 54 Park Ave, Highway Superintendent. It is a replacement for a 1999 International sander. And again, we'll be reusing the sander body on the new truck.
Other questions on Article 10? Okay, all in favor of Article 10 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 10 is adopted unanimously. Article 11, truck lift system, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $46,000 from free cash to purchase an 18,000-pound Stericom or comparable column truck lift system, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 11. All right, all in favor of Article 11 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 11 is adopted. Article 12, street resurfacing, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $100,000 from free cash for the purpose of resurfacing and or installing surface treatments, engineering services, granite purchases, and line painting various town streets, or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Discussion of Article 12. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 12 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 12 is adopted unanimously. Article 13, sidewalk repair, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $50,000 from free cash for the purpose of repairing, replacing, or installing sidewalks in various town streets, or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Discussion of Article 13. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 13 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 13 is adopted unanimously. Article 14, armory building roof, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $35,000 from free cash to repair the armory building roof, or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Discussion. All right, all in favor of Article 14 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 14 is adopted unanimously. Article 15, replace fire department vehicle, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $60,000 from free cash to purchase a replacement of a 2015 fire department vehicle, or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Discussion. All right, all those in favor of Article 15 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 15 is adopted unanimously. Article 16, fire department foam mitigation, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $10,000 from free cash to remove and replace the fire department's firefighting foam, or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Discussion of 16. All right, all in favor of Article 16 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 16 is adopted unanimously. Article 17, Duval, Conley, and Whitman Middle School phone systems, to see if the town will vote to transfer $71,208 from Article 15 of the December 11, 2017 special town meeting, Duval School roof, to replace the telephone system at the Duval, Conley, and Whitman Middle Schools, or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Discussion of Article 17. Yes, sir.
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel Street. My question basically will cover the next 4 articles. Can I get an update on the Duval roof project, why we're transferring money out of this, please?
Mr. Small?
The monies that were appropriated for the Duval roof were insufficient. The plan was to seek an MSBA accelerated grant to repair the roof. The project could not go forward until the roof was 20 years old under MSBA guidelines. When we hit the 20-year mark, we applied, only to find out that MSBA had changed the clawback period from 20 years to 27 years. This past few months ago, we were on another call with MSBA, and we've discovered that now the clawback is 30 years. So the plan is to have sufficient funds to address any deficiencies and try and stay ahead of them and be somewhat reactive instead of being proactive and having the funds to replace the entire roof and wait and see if the clawback period does lessen.
Other questions on 17? All right, sir, you have another one?
So what is our timeline for that? The roof over the Duval, so the problematic area with that roof is over the library. We lose books, we lose resources in the Duval School every year, and we're backing out of this project. There've been patchworks done every year, but it's never really been enough.
Mr. Small.
The patchwork is done. It's only when there's a certain wind-driven rain that it does actually leak. There is a mitigation process that's over the ceiling tiles so that water does not affect and come into the structure itself. It's caught up on the other side of the tiles. It's trying to make the best of the situation as we stand right now in a diligent manner.
Other discussion of Article 17? All right, all in favor of Article 17, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? Article 17 is adopted. Article 18, high-power phone system, to see if the town will vote to transfer $133,404, 60% of the total cost of $222,340 from Article 15 of the December 11, 2017 special town meeting Duval School roof to pay Whitman's share of the cost to replace the telephone system at the high school or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of 18. All right, all in favor of adopting Article 18, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? Article 18 is adopted. Article 19, high school existing fire lane, to see if the town will vote to transfer $34,500 from Article 15 of the December 11, 2017 special town meeting Duval School roof to pay Whitman's share of the cost to repair the existing fire lane around the high school or take any other action relative thereto. A motion and a second. Discussion of 19. All in favor of adopting Article 19, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? Article 19 is adopted. Article 20, Duval and Conley School Emergency Generator, to see if the town will vote to transfer $40,000 from Article 15 of the December 11, 2017 special town meeting Duval School roof for additional funding needed to complete the emergency generator project and transfer switch or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 20. All right, all in favor of adopting Article 20, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? Article 20 is adopted. Codify the general bylaws, to see if the town will vote to amend the town's existing bylaws, general provisions, by adopting the compilation, numbering, codification, arrangement, sequencing, and captioning of, and comprehensive revision to the text of such bylaws, general provisions, all as set forth in the final draft of the Code of the Town of Whitman, dated May 4, 2021, on file in the office of the town clerk and available on the town's website at www.whitman-ma.gov, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 21. All right, all in favor of 21, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? Article 21 is adopted unanimously. Article 22, codify zoning bylaws, to see if the town will vote to amend the town's existing protective zoning bylaw by adopting the compilation, numbering, codification, arrangement, sequencing, and captioning of, and comprehensive revision to, the text of such protective zoning bylaw, all is set forth in the final draft of the Code of Town of Whitman, dated May 4, 2021, on file in the office of the town clerk and available on the town's website at www.whitman-ma.gov, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 22. All right, we need a 2/3 vote to adopt this. All in favor of Article 22, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? Article 22 is adopted unanimously. Article 23, municipal fines, to see if, in concert with the recodification of the general and zoning bylaws of the town, will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40U, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion and a second. Discussion of 23. Sir.
Christopher Diorio, 847 Washington Street. This deals with Chapter 40U, and Section 5 of Chapter 40U indicates that the town shall by ordinance require snow removal to be undertaken by the owner of property abutting. Now, Whitman has very nicely been good about having snowcats that have been doing sidewalks in Whitman for quite a while. Does this adoption of this particular article and this section mean that owners of property are now going to be required to do their own snow removal on sidewalks? And if so, what are we going to be doing with the snowcats?
Mr. Heineman?
As just mentioned, the Department of Public Works and Superintendent Martin do a great job in town of clearing sidewalks when snow occurs. That said, in the current bylaws that were in existence until the town just adopted the codification of general bylaws in Article 21, already did require homeowners to, or property owners, to remove snow on sidewalks in front of their properties. As the speaker mentioned, in most cases, our DPW does a fantastic job of this. What the pre-existing bylaws required were fines that were in excess of what is allowed in state law. At some point, somehow, the Attorney General had approved our larger fines for not clearing snow in front of one's property. That was resolved in part in Article 21 with your adoption of fines that are in concert with what the state law allows. What this would do now in Article 23 is adopt the section of state law and close the circle, so to speak, in correcting the previous error in our bylaws. But there is no intention of changing the current practice, of how the Department of Public Works clears snow when it snows.
Further discussion of 23. All right, all in favor of adopting Article 23, and again, we need a 2/3 vote on this, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 23 is adopted unanimously. Article 24, establish Community Preservation Committee. To see if the town will vote to establish a Community Preservation Committee as follows. A, there shall be a Community Preservation Committee consisting of 9 members. At least 1 member shall be appointed from the Planning Board as designated by that board, 1 from the Conservation Commission as designated by that commission, 1 from the Housing Authority as designated by that authority, 1 from the Historical Commission as designated by that commission, and 1 from the Recreation Commission as designated by that commission, and 4 from at-large appointed by the Board of Selectmen. B, the committee shall be responsible for evaluating the community preservation needs of the town and making recommendations to town meeting as part of the annual budget process. The committee shall act under the authority of and in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44B, Sections 3 through 7, or take any action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 24. All right, seeing none, all in favor of Article 24 say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 24 is adopted unanimously. Article 25, cable access funds. To see if the town will vote to appropriate $278,276 from the Reserve for Appropriation Cable Access account to fund PEG access services in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 25. All right, seeing none, all in favor of Article 25 say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 25 is adopted unanimously. Article 26, debt authorization for the South Shore Regional Vocational School District. To see if the town will authorize the South Shore Regional Vocational School District, SSRVSD, to incur debt in the amount of $10,516,372 under the authority of the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, Section 16D, or take any other enabling authority for the purpose of remodeling and making extraordinary repairs to its school building, which will extend the useful life of the school and support the required education program under the following terms, or take any other action relative thereto. 1, SSRVSD will use any and all monies borrowed to make extraordinary repairs and permanent improvements to its school building, and where necessary, remodel and repair its building, remodel and expand its building footprint. Priority project determinations will include, but are not limited to, recommendations from its 2018 Facilities Master Plan as provided to the town, and 2, the terms of any agreement to incur debt or borrow monies under this article shall be approved by the school committee, and any sums borrowed pursuant to this article will be expended under the direction of the school committee, and 3, monies received pursuant to this article shall be kept separate and apart from other school funds and may be expended by the school committee without further appropriation, provided, however, that any balance remaining in such account at the close of the fiscal year shall remain in said account and may be expended for the upkeep and maintenance of any facility under the control of the school committee. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 26. Yes, sir.
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel Street. Is the dollar amount here, does that represent Whitman's total cost, or is that subject to the vocational agreement?
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening. My name is Tom Hickey. I'm the superintendent at South Shore. It's the latter. It's based on our regional agreement. Whitman's share is 24.75%, which is based on a 3-year look back on enrollment.
Thank you.
Other questions on 26? Yes, sir.
Well, I understand that we're keeping our schools with leaky roofs, but and so all of our students are deciding to go somewhere else, which is why a quarter of the students at South Shore Votech are from Whitman instead of the, I don't know, was it 10, 15 towns? I'd like to know if a member of the South Shore Votech School Committee could comment on this matter. Thank you.
Mr. Lynham.
Frank Lynham, 907 Bedford Street. I have great respect and admiration for Dr. Hickey. You know, when I start that way, it's not going to be a positive comment. What we are being asked to do right now is something we have never done with any other debt issue. We're approving debt before we know the scope of the work and what's going to be done. There's a provision in Chapter 71 that allows regional school committees to borrow money with a majority approval of the various towns in the district. My problem is this is an open checkbook. We don't know what work's going to be done over what period of time, and I would like to see a more defined plan before we authorize debt.
Mr. Salvucci.
Yes. Dan Salvucci, 34A Lance Ave, and I'm the representative for South Shore Votech for our town. Just to let you know, in order to get this project done, we need all towns in the district to approve it, 100%. They all have, Whitman is the last town. If we approve it, we can get to start to borrow this money, and we won't feel the effects of borrowing the money until what, 2023, 24?
Principal and interest 25.
Yeah, principal and interest 2025, so it's going to be a while. But these are, what we're going to do is there's a lot of different issues that we have in the school, and we have to take care of them or the school's going to get worse. State has looked at our school and said that we take too good care of it, and so they're not going to reimburse us anything, so we need to deal with it. We have a window project going on now that we saved the money, $800,000, and we're paying for it at no cost to the towns. We're able to do that with extra monies that we had, and we just put it aside. But there are too many issues that we need to take care of. A roof project, and actually the newer part of the building, which is, God, how old is the newer part? 50 years old?
The newer part is 1992.
Yeah, 1992 is the newer part. We need a new roof on that. We've already replaced the original roof. So, I mean, these are ongoing projects that we need to take care of. And if we don't, we're not going to build a new South Shore Votech, right? We're just going to keep repairing it and adding to it if we can.
Other discussion on Article 26? Mr. Hickey?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. One of the items that we did address through the planning process was to present a multi-year matrix of how these expenses would be prioritized and broken down, and we've presented that to our towns. So ventilation, roof, window project is this summer prior to the debt authorization, shop renovation. 2/3 of our building was built in 1962. The bulk of the dollars, which was originally 18.9, we reduced it to this amount, was to address some of the most pressing issues that we have outlined.
Further discussion of Article 26? All right, again, this again will require a 2/3 vote to pass. All in favor of adopting Article 26, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no? No. Article 26 is adopted. Article 27, floodplain and watershed districts. To see if the town will vote to amend the town's protective zoning bylaw by striking subsection 7.4, flood. Yes, just. We have a motion to waive the reading. All in favor, say yes. Yes. No? No? Okay. If we want to take a moment to look this over, and perhaps we could get the executive summary. Any questions on 27? We have a motion and a second, by the way? We do, okay. Discussion of 27. All right, then, all in favor of adopting Article 27. Again, this does require a 2/3 vote. Say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 27 is adopted unanimously. Article 28, Fire Collective Bargaining Contract. To see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and Local 1769 International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, for the period commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, with the cost items funded in part through monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, and to appropriate $37,000 from free cash to fund the remaining cost items or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 28. All in favor of 28, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 28 is adopted unanimously. Library Collective Bargaining Contract. To see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and the Whitman Public Library Employees, SEIU Local 888, for the period commencing July 1, 2021 through July 1, 20 blank, with the cost items funded through monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion? Second. Mr. Heineman, was there an amendment? I have. Okay. Well, somebody has to make the motion. Yeah. Does somebody want to make a motion to amend? Mr. Lamantina.
Brady Lamantina, Selectman, 6 River Bird Circle. Motion to amend to see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and Whitman Public Library employees, SEIU Local 888, for a period commencing July 1, 2021 through July 1, 2022. With the cost of items funded through monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second on the amendment. Discussion of the amendment, which is just filling in that blank with the year 2022. Mr. Lynham?
Should not the contract period end on June 30th?
Do you wish to withdraw your amendment and offer another one? No.
Bring it back. Yeah, June 30th. I apologize. Motion to amend.
So you're withdrawing the previous motion.
I withdraw the previous motion and new motion to amend. To see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and Whitman Public Libraries employees, SEIU Local 888, for a period commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, with the cost items funded through monies appropriated as part of fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion of the amendment. All right, all in favor of amending Article 29, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Okay, Article 29 is amended. Discussion of the amended article. All right, all in favor of adopting Article 29 as amended, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 29 is adopted unanimously. Article 30, Police Collective Bargaining Contract. To see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and the Whitman Police Association for the period commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30 blank, with the cost of items funded through the monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lamontina.
Motion to amend. I'm recommending we pass over Article 30 at this time.
Okay, we have a motion to pass over. So moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor of passing over Article 30, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. All right, Article 30 is passed over. Article 31, Department of Public Works Collective Bargaining Contract. To see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, State Council 93, Local 1700, for the period commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 20 blank, with the cost of items funded through the monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto. Moved and seconded. Mr. Lamontina.
Mr. Moderator, motion to amend. Article 31 to read, motion to amend to read, to see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, State Council 93, Local 1700, for a period commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, with the cost items funded through monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto.
And we have a motion and a second. Discussion of the amendment. All in favor of amending Article 31, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Okay, Article 31 is amended. Discussion of the amended article. All right, all in favor of adopting Article 31 as amended, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 31 is adopted unanimously. Article 32, Town Hall Workers Collective Bargaining Contract. To see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and the Office and Professional Employees International Union, Local 6, AFL-CIO, for the period commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30, 20 blank, with the cost items funded through monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto. Motion? Motion is second. Mr. Lamontina.
Moderator, motion to amend to Article 32 to read, to see if the town will vote to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the town and the Office and Professional Employees International Union, Local 6, AFL-CIO, for the period commencing July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, with cost items funded through monies appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, Article 2, or take any other action relative thereto.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on an amendment. Discussion of the amended article. Of the amendment, sorry, the amendment. All right, all in favor of amending Article 32, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Discussion of the amended article. All in favor of adopting Article 32 as amended, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 32 was adopted unanimously. Article 33, Capital Committee Adjustments. To see if the town will vote to amend Article 38 of the 2015 Annual Town Meeting as follows, or take any other action relative thereto. The Buildings, Facilities, and Capital Expenditures Committee shall be henceforth be called the Capital Committee. The committee shall consist of 9 members, including 1 selectman, the town administrator, a member of the school committee is appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and a member of the Finance Committee who shall be jointly appointed by the Board of Selectmen and town moderator. The remaining 5 members shall be appointed by the Board of Selectmen for overlapping terms. A representative from the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District shall be appointed by the district to serve as liaison to the committee. The committee shall prepare an annual report identifying the town's anticipated capital needs for the next 5 years, prioritized by year. The report shall be submitted to the Board of Selectmen in January of each fiscal year for inclusion in the town's annual report. The committee shall be responsible for evaluating capital needs of the town, evaluating town facilities with the assistance of the town facilities manager, and presenting projects and funding requests for town meeting. The committee shall also review requests for capital purchases, which shall be defined as purchases of vehicles and equipment, including technology, equipment, and software costing $20,000 or more and having a useful life in excess of 5 years. Purchases that in the aggregate exceed $20,000 and have a life expectancy of greater than 5 years shall be considered capital purchases. Requests for capital spending shall be submitted to the committee by October 1st of each fiscal year, and the committee shall evaluate and prioritize requests in order to prepare a capital budget and present requests for funding to town meeting. No appropriation greater than $20,000 for capital purchases or improvements shall be considered for funding a town meeting unless such request has been submitted and reviewed by the committee, except where the need for a capital expenditure was unanticipated in time to be submitted for review prior to finalizing the town meeting warrant, and the Board of Selectmen votes to include the request apart from the annual capital budget defined above. In preparing for annual appropriation, the committee shall be available to meet with the Board of Selectmen if the Board so desires prior to posting the annual town meeting warrant in order to review, add, or remove articles from the warrant. The committee shall meet with the Finance Committee with sufficient time to allow the Finance Committee to review and make its recommendations on capital issues. Do we have a motion? Moved and a second. Discussion of Article 33. Ms. Connolly.
I recall that there was a section in the line when we originally read that somebody would be responsible for oversight of projects, such as the Duval roof. I think I asked earlier, how much have we spent patching up that roof and other things? So if you could clarify who, I believe there was a change, who is now responsible?
Mr. Heineman.
So this article would achieve 4 items at the high level regarding the current Buildings, Facilities, and Capital Expenditures Committee. 1, change the name to something that I think is a little more memorable and a little more specific to its actual duties, the Capital Committee. Secondly, clarify that the school committee member is not just a liaison, but a full member of the committee. And number 3, make it clear that capital projects are now a useful life of 5 years with a cost of $20,000 or more rather than $10,000 to account for inflation and best practices. Ms. Connolly's referring to the section of the current charge for what has been the Buildings, Facilities, and Capital Expenditures Committee, which dictates that the committee itself actually manage the implementation of capital projects. What is envisioned now is that the relevant department head and ultimately the Board of Selectmen, through me as the town administrator, would be managing those projects on a day-to-day basis and ensuring their completion through. For school projects, it would be the regional school district, generally speaking, but certainly with input from the town. So that's and regarding your specific question about the Duval roof, I can leave sort of some more specific answers from the school department folks, but to your question, there is $262,000 left in the original appropriation for the repairs day to day of patching up that roof in the interim until the clawback period has concluded.
Other discussion of Article 33. Yes, sir.
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel Street. Just to clarify, does this take any autonomy away from the school committee in taking care of their own capital projects? Does it kind of put more power in the hands of like the town, the selectmen? I don't want to do anything that's taking away from, the school being able to make its own decisions.
Mr. Heineman.
It does not. This is about the composition and duties of what's now the Buildings, Facilities, and Capital Expenditures Committee, but not with the town in relation to the school department.
Other questions on Article 33? All right, all in favor of adopting Article 33, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 33 is adopted unanimously. Article 34, residency requirement for committee members. To see if the town will vote to amend the first sentence of Section 7-9 of the recodified general bylaws, formerly designated as a Section 5 of Article 20 of the general bylaws, to read as follows or take any action relative thereto. The provisions of this bylaw shall not apply to ex officio members, the town administrator, the assistant town administrator, or non-voting members. We have a motion. Motion moved and seconded. Discussion of Article 34. Seeing none, all in favor of adopting Article 34, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 34 is adopted unanimously. Article 35, speakers at town meeting. To see if the town will vote to amend the third sentence of Section 70-16 of the recodified general bylaws, formerly designated as Section 11 of Article 3 of the general bylaws, to read as follows, or take any action relative thereto. Persons wishing to visit such shall request permission of the moderator before said meeting and will not be allowed to vote on any question. Non-voters will not be allowed to speak unless they are a town employee or at the discretion of the moderator or of town meeting. We have a motion. Motion and a second. A discussion of Article 35. Seeing none, all in favor of adopting Article 35, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 35 is adopted unanimously. Article 36, plastic bag ban. To see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Whitman general bylaws by adding a new waste reduction article as follows, or take any other action relative thereto. And there is 2 pages of text associated with this. I can read it if you like. Mr. Lynham. Motion to waive the reading. Do we have a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor of waiving the reading, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. The reading is waived. Mr. Lynham?
This item and the next one came before the town, I think, probably less than 45 days ago. It is my understanding that the Bylaw Study Committee has met and reviewed these articles and has recommended that action be delayed to a future meeting in order to give the town time to review, research, and either support the article as it's written or determine how that process should take place. I want to recognize that a number of students have really worked at this, and I'm impressed with their commitment to their community and to sustainability, but regrettably, I would like to make a motion to pass over this article.
All right, we have a motion to pass over Article 36. It's been seconded. Discussion of the motion to pass over this article. Yes, sir.
I guess my question, you mentioned research, Mr. Lynham. What are you looking to research?
I'm sorry, sir, could you identify yourself? Sir, excuse me, could you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Chris Scriven, 362 School Street, School Committee. So my question is, what specifically are you looking for in terms of research that we don't already know about plastic bags and styrofoam?
Well, a couple of things. One, we don't know what the businesses in town are prepared to do or how easily or quickly they can make that transition. Secondly, whatever language we do adopt should probably be reviewed and approved by town council. And I think to vote without those measures in place could create problems. Again, it's a bylaw, it's been reviewed by the bylaw committee, and their specific request is to give time to evaluate it and bring it forward at a future date.
Ms. Connolly?
Rosemary Conley, 405 Franklin. Can anybody speak to if this is the same language that was used in Abington or Hanson for the students? And it passed there by law or no? Thank you, Justin.
Mr. Evans.
Justin Evans, 57 Candlewick Lane, Board of Selectmen. First, if there are any students from the Student Environmental Awareness Club to speak. they would probably be able to weigh in more than me.
They're not registered voters in this town, so they're not permitted to speak.
Okay. Given that it's my understanding that they copied this language directly from Hanson, from the bylaw that passed there 2 years ago. And to answer one of Mr. Lynham's questions, the effective implementation date as written in the language is January 1st of 2022. And given that the students don't have a chance to speak, they did forward me what they planned on saying tonight. So if you'll allow, I'll
go right ahead.
Sure. You know, not necessarily me, but we, the members of the Whitman-Hanson Student Environmental Awareness Club, would like to encourage members of the Whitman community to vote in favor of banning single-use plastic bags and polystyrene containers. It may not seem like a big deal to you because plastic bags have been around for as long as many of us can remember, but it doesn't seem a bit sad that you frequently see the evidence of this problem when trying to enjoy a walk in our town. We've all seen a bag stuck up in a tree or a coffee cup on the side of the road in a bush. We've also seen these on beaches and in the woods in some of our neighboring towns. It poses a risk to the natural world around us, one we don't feel we can responsibly ignore. Articles 36 and 37 have long-reaching consequences beyond the ones we can see quickly, like seeing fewer plastic bags on the side of the road on your way to work. The average plastic bag will stay in a landfill more than 1,000 years. Similarly, polystyrene containers take decades to break down now and may never fully decompose. Particles will seep into the ground, infiltrating our soil and water. A plastic bag that you use today could affect the water you drink and the water your kids drink. This bylaw will improve your life and the lives of your kids and their kids. Please consider voting in favor of banning single-use plastic bags and polystyrene containers in our town, as 60% of other Massachusetts communities have done. We can make decisions today that will improve our community's future. Thank you.
Other discussion of Article 36. Sir.
Bruce Martin, 54 Park Ave. As highway superintendent, I also deal with the solid waste in town, and I tell you, I just saw this today, and I think it's a great idea. I hope we support it. The plastic bags can't go in your recycle carts. The styrofoam can't go in your recycle carts. So they just live forever. And many towns are doing this. I'd like to see we vote in favor of it.
Other discussion of Article 36. Mr. Kane.
Sean Kane, 31 Forest Street. The students can't speak with your permission or permission from town meeting?
If town meeting wants to grant the permission, then we can do that.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to allow the students to speak on this motion to pass over. All in favor? Yes?
Yes.
Opposed? No? All right, then the students can speak. They'd like to send a representative down? If you would please identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Riley Getchell. I live in Whitman. I'm now the president of SEEK. I've been recently appointed, and this is my friend Sarah Regan. She's also a member of SEEK. In the past few months, along with other plastic bags and polystyrene containers I've noticed on the side of the road, I've noticed one plastic grocery bag that got stuck in the branch of one of the trees in my backyard. It must have been lodged by the wind or something, but it won't come down. And every day when I leave my house, I'm just reminded of all the plastic in the environment and the looming threat of climate change that's over us. Passing these articles would help improve our environment so greatly. Even if we can't see the effects now, like Mr. Evans said in our speech, it will affect us, our kids, and our grandkids, and generally improve the well-being of our environment.
Hello, I'm Sarah Regan. I'm also a member of SEEK. And personally, I've noticed in my life that by making more environmentally friendly decisions, I've had a cleaner conscience, knowing I'm doing my part to protect the planet that provides for us. Plastic is easily swapped out for different materials in our daily lives, and plastic bags also are just
unsightly.
Yeah. And I believe that the wildlife around us will also appreciate it as much as I do.
Further discussion of the motion to pass over Article 36. Yes, ma'am.
Tina Moniz, 20 Fox Hill Run. I don't think there's any need to pass over this. So many other towns surrounding us already have this in place. It seems silly to be behind the times.
All right. Further discussion of Article 36, the motion to pass over. Yes, sir.
Wayne Carroll, 32 Meadow Lane. In these articles, it says 1/1/22. That gives the businesses in town 7 months to adopt the plan. I think that's plenty of time.
Okay. Further discussion of 36, of the motion to pass over. Mr. Kane.
Yeah, I was going to say that at 31 Forest Street, Sean Kane. I was going to say what Mr. Carroll said, and it does give the Board of Health some discretion about hardships, so if there are businesses that are having some difficulty.
Okay. Further discussion of the motion to pass over. Mr. Lynham.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
Mr. Lanham's already spoken. I have not had a chance to speak yet.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you up there. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're correct. You're right.
Marshall Latino, 100 Lazel Street. Just with regards to passing this over, it's to a future town meeting, which we know isn't going to be for another 365 or something days. This takes place before that. We can't just keep kicking the can on this and say, let's see if we can do it next year. We know what a plastic ban is. I think the students presented a great argument. They have a great article here. I move that we move to vote tonight.
Further discussion. Anybody else who's not been heard? Mr. Lynham.
I just want to be clear that I understand we need to do this. But one of the points that were made for not having a legal review is it's already done in Abington. If you look at page 23, Section 2 definitions, subsection E, reusable checkout bags shall mean a sewn bag with stitched handles that is specifically designed for multiple reuse, and I won't read the rest. I was in Target last week. They are using reusable bags. They're not stitched. They don't meet this requirement. So I still think we need to walk before we run. And I don't know what Abington's bylaw says, but if this is copied, their biggest retailer isn't even following it.
Further discussion of the motion to pass over Article 36. Ms. Connolly.
Are the students still allowed to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Was this copied from Hanson? Can a student answer that? Okay, so it was the date for the start was the only thing that was changed? Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing? Can I ask another question, just a follow-up question?
Okay.
Moderator? Okay. When did you introduce this in Hanson, and how long did it take them to follow through? Did they request another year? Or so it was the pandemic, not the stitching on the bags. Okay, thank you.
Other discussion of the motion to pass over Article 36. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Heidi Hosmer, 22 Belmont Street. I think this is a great idea. I think these kids have done a fantastic job. I'm just a little bit concerned about the timeline for the sake of the small businesses in town. And I would suggest an amendment, instead of having it be by January. What was the date? January of 2022? If we gave more time, maybe May or June of 2023. So, I mean, a whole year. Not just 6 or 7 months, to give the smaller businesses. The big businesses can do that pretty quick and easy, but the smaller businesses in town, it might be a little bit more considerate just to give them an opportunity to make the the takeout containers like at all the small restaurants and things like that. That's my only comment.
All right, we need amendments in writing that are signed if you care to do that. Mr. Evans?
Sure. Justin Evans, 57 Candlewick Lane, and Board of Selectmen. Let me find my place. It does say here that the Board of Health can exempt a retail establishment from the requirements of this section for a period of up to 6 months. So they would be allowed an additional 6 months after the implementation if the Board of Health so decides.
Okay, sir.
Dan Kelly, health agent. As Justin Evans just said, I got up to say that we can give, I guess, that 6-month buffer period to small businesses in town that might have a trouble changing so quickly. Obviously, some of the bigger places like Stop and Shop and Cumberland Farms, they'll be able to do this pretty quick because other towns have these locations. I know Kingston, Cumberland Farms, for example, does not use plastic anymore. So I think places like that will be easy to, sorry. We'll be able to adjust this very easily, but the small businesses, the Board of Health having that 6 months buffer time, I'm sure small businesses will use that, and that gives it 13 months. I think that's plenty of time. Thank you.
Further discussion of the motion to pass over Article 36. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Heather Clough. I live at 154 Beulah Street, and if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that small businesses can adapt, and no small business in this town has closed since the start of the pandemic, as far as I'm concerned. And some of us may have shifted to online, some of us may have changed the delivery model, but everyone's managed to survive. And with that in mind, with 7 months, there's more than enough time for small businesses to hop on board and be able to change what they need to be in compliance. Thank you.
Further discussion. Yes, Ms. Johnson.
Hi, Erin Johnson, 37 Kendrick Street. I guess this is something everybody else already understands, but what does it mean if we pass over an article?
It means that we won't consider it. We'll put it off to another time.
To another meeting or just a later?
Whenever it would be great, whenever it would be put on a warrant again by the selectmen.
Okay, thank you.
Move the question.
We have a motion to move the question. All in favor of moving the question, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right. All in favor of passing over Article 36, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Article 36 is not passed over. So any further discussion of Article 36 as it appears in the warrant? All right. All in favor of Article 36, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. No. Article 36 is adopted. Article 37, polystyrene ban, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Whitman general bylaws by adding a new polystyrene restrictions article as follows, to take any other action relative thereto. And with the meeting's permission, we could waive the reading of the next 2 pages.
Motion.
All in favor of waiving the reading, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. All right, we'll waive the reading. Discussion of Article 37. Yes, sir.
John Goldrosen, 238 South Avenue. I do notice one difference between this article and the previous one is that there is no hardship provision in this one, no provision allowing the Board of Health to give it an exemption for up to 6 months, unless I'm overlooking it, and I'm just wondering what the reasoning is for not having the same provision in this bylaw as in the previous one.
Do we have anyone who wants to address that question?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Marshall Tatum, 100 Lazel Street. It seems to me like Section 6 of Article 37 does address that, not in as specific terms, but it does grant the Board of Health some leeway to amend and rules and regulations.
Okay. Further discussion of Article 37? All right, all in favor of adopting Article 37, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 37 is adopted. Article 38, Combined Capital Stabilization Funding Sources, to see if the town will vote to rescind its adoption of the Technology and Regional School Stabilization Funds and add the balance of these funds to the Capital Stabilization Fund or take any other action relative thereto. We have a motion and a second for 38. Any discussion? All right, this does require a two-thirds vote. All in favor of adopting Article 38, say aye. Opposed, no. Article 38 is adopted unanimously. Article 39, the transfer to Capital Stabilization Fund, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $100,000 in free cash to be added to the Capital Stabilization Fund or take any other action relative thereto. I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All right, this also requires a two-thirds vote. All in favor of Article 39, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 39 is adopted unanimously. Article 40, cell tower lease, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator to execute lease terms of up to 12 years for a cellular tower located on town property identified in the Town of Whitman Assessor's Map as Parcel 8-72-1A, or take any other action relative thereto. Do we have a motion? So moved. And a second? We have a motion and a second. Discussion of Article 40. Yes, Mr. Carroll.
Wayne Carroll, 32 Meadow Lane. Location?
Mr. Heineman.
So this location is right next to Bear Meadow. In that area, it is on town-owned land. There is a sewer pump station there. And I'm happy to provide a little more details if the meeting so desires.
Questions on 39? Yes, ma'am.
Patricia Eunice, Commercial Street. Are you referring to the sewer treatment building off of Commercial Street?
Mr. Heineman.
That's correct.
And can you describe what this tower is going to look like? How big it is? Do abutters have any say in it?
So, yes, if I could, I'd like to give a little bit of history of how this came to be on the warrant and what the process would be if it was to be approved. So, a developer of cell towers contacted the town and had identified this parcel as a possible location, as a desirable location to possibly build a cell tower, to lease the town's land to build a cell tower. So the first step in even considering that is here at town meeting. State law disallows the town to enter into a contract of more than 3 years without the approval of town meeting. The lease of land for a cell tower and the building of that cell tower, as folks can probably expect, it would be for a term of more than 3 years. No company would want to build one, without a lease of less than 3 years or less. So what this is before the town meeting is not building the cell tower. It's simply determining the meeting's sense of whether the town wants to entertain the possibility of a cell tower here. There would be revenue from that. With the amount of that revenue is hard to predict at this moment. It has a lot to do with who would bid on a conceivable request for proposals if it was ever issued. But the range in doing some research is a minimum of probably approximately $36,000 a year, up to perhaps exceeding $100,000 a year, as far as what would probably be general fund revenue, to reduce the tax burden of residents. If town meeting approved this article, that would simply allow the possibility of issuing a request for proposals. That would be the first step in the process, of which there would be at least 3 more steps. Number 1, determination by the Board of Selectmen about whether or not a request for proposals would even be issued. That is to say, going out to determine which and how many companies might be interested in leasing a portion of this property for a cell tower. Secondly, if that RFP was issued, and then if the town chose to actually award a contract, to a potential bidder. Obviously, it would have to be determined what amount of money it would be, but then and only then would that potential bidder go forward to certainly the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Conservation Commission to go through the site plan review, and that would determine the conceivable size of a cell tower and et cetera in that permitting process. So this is the first step in at least 4 steps to determine, if a cell tower may ever be built there.
Does
Yeah.
does
Yes, sir.
Whitman already have cell towers?
Yes, there are no cell towers on leased town-owned land in town. There are certainly cell towers on private land, but again, none currently on town-owned land.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Scriven?
Chris Scriven, 363 School Street. I guess my question is would this be then the last opportunity for town meeting to approve or disapprove of the construction of the tower if we approve this article?
Mr. Heineman?
Yes, this would be the opportunity for town meeting to have input. Certainly, there would be public input, at each of those further steps. Obviously, any decisions made at any of those further steps would be done in public meetings or public hearings, but this would be town meeting's opportunity to weigh in, correct?
Further discussion of Article 40. All right, Article 40 requires a 2/3 vote to pass. So all in favor of Article 40, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Article 40 is adopted. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourning, say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming out tonight.